Hi everyone. I'm a 48-year-old father to my 21-year-old daughter Beth. I raised her to think for herself, and I've always admired that about her. We've had a great relationship over the years. She's always confided in me and we've always had open means of communication. However, we recently had a disagreement. For context, she recently got engaged and told me she doesn't want me to walk her down the aisle on her wedding day. First of all, we don't know too much about her fiancé. They started dating about 2 years ago, but we've always trusted her in whatever decisions she's made. We trust that she's always known what's best for her. Beth tried to tell her mom and I that we don't own her and have no right to give her away. Well, I don't know if this is some new way of thinking that these young folks have nowadays or where she got this idea that we're giving her away, but I always looked at it as more of a respect thing or that she loved her dear old dad. It hurt me to hear her say all of that because we never viewed or treated her as an object or possession. We only ever wanted to give her the best life possible, and in being a part of her wedding like that, it would have been an absolute honor. Her stance feels extreme to me, and despite discussions, she refuses to change her mind. I respect her choices, but I feel like she is disregarding our feelings completely. In response, I said that if she truly believes this, then I will not be paying for her wedding. If we don't own her, then she might be of the mind that she can pay for the wedding herself. I don't want to seem controlling or manipulative. It's true that we do not own her, but I also don't owe her a fully funded wedding. If she insists on this view, then she can pay for the wedding herself. Am I in the wrong? Edit. I just want to clarify that my issue is not about wanting attention on myself during the wedding. Simply walking my daughter down the aisle, with all eyes on her, and then sitting down does not make the wedding about me. It's about her attitude towards excluding us from this important day. As parents, we have given her every opportunity in life, and for her to reject our presence at her wedding feels like a slap in the face. It disregards and disrespects everything we have done for her. I have always been a supportive and involved father. I have provided my daughter with love, guidance, and countless opportunities throughout her life. I have always been there for her. Now that she is an adult, I never expected my relationship with her to change in such a drastic way. The fact that she doesn't want me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding feels like a rejection of our whole relationship and all that we have done for her. I understand that she wants to make a statement about not being owned by anyone, but I feel like she is forgetting all the love and support we have given her throughout the years. It's not about controlling or owning her. It's about being there for her on one of the most important days of her life. This kind of selfish behavior goes against true independence, which involves being able to think for oneself while still respecting others' thoughts, feelings, and perspectives. Wedding traditions and symbolism may have roots in outdated practices, but it doesn't mean we should discard all of them. Walking a daughter down the aisle has long been a symbol of respect, pride, love, and honoring the father-daughter relationship. True independence means finding a balance between asserting individuality and showing respect and consideration for others. And I just want to clarify that our disagreement will not ruin our relationship. We are still very much close and there is no chance of her not inviting us to her wedding or cutting off contact. I think it's natural for people to have disagreements, but it won't affect our lifelong relationship. Likewise, we would never refuse to attend the wedding or cut her out of our will. We value our relationship more than any differences in opinions. Update 1. Well, to all those criticizing me for being the asshole, I have decided to give her just as much money that we gave to her older sister for her wedding. She can spend it however she pleases. And to those who agree with me, thank you. Most of you understand where I'm coming from. After I posted about my disagreement with my daughter about walking her down the aisle, we had a long and heartfelt conversation. I expressed my feelings of hurt and disappointment at the thought of being excluded from such an important moment in her life. My daughter listened to me and understood where I was coming from. She explained that she wanted to break away from the traditional idea of the father giving away the bride because she sees it as outdated and sexist. She also didn't want to feel like a possession being passed from one man, her father, to another, her husband. But she acknowledged that she never considered how this decision would make her parents feel. She suggested finding a compromise where she could still honor our relationship without participating in the traditional giving away aspect. Well, my daughter called us today and said she wants the money as soon as possible, and I asked her if everything is okay. She says yes, but that she needs to pay the remainder of the wedding fees for the hall, the caterer, and the rentals. Well, I said as long as she's okay and she's telling me the truth, I'll transfer her the money. She assured me that everything was okay. I feel like she's not telling me something. I'm disheartened by my daughter's behavior. Something felt off. So I called her sister to ask if she had spoken to her. She said that Beth had asked her to be a witness to their wedding. I said, a witness? And she said, yeah, they've decided to go to the Justice of the Peace in the coming weeks. And I said, Justice of the Peace? I said I just gave her the cash I had promised her because she said she needed to pay off the hall and rental fees. She said that's really bizarre because Beth told her that she had canceled everything as they just wanted a very small and private wedding and they had asked her and her husband to be witnesses. She said Beth told her not to tell her mom and I of the exact date they were wanting to go to the job. I asked why? She said Beth didn't want her mom and I just randomly showing up. I asked her if we did anything to piss off Beth and she said she doesn't know. She said Beth hasn't really told her the details, and it was a shock to her that Beth wanted to move the date of the wedding and cancel the big wedding they had originally planned. But then she said, between us and her, she thinks Beth is pregnant, but that I shouldn't say anything to her or bring anything like that up to her because she didn't want Beth getting mad at her. She felt like she was walking on thin ice as it was. I found myself wrestling with conflicting emotions. On one hand, I wanted to respect her choices and support her decision to do things her own way. On the other hand, I couldn't shake off the sense of loss and missed opportunity to share in her joy on her special day. Her mom and I had no idea what we did wrong. And we didn't want to push it either. But what do we do? What should I do? Should I say anything? Could she be in danger? What's with all the secrecy? My daughter means the world to me, and I couldn't bear the thought of not being there for her, even if it meant adjusting my expectations and letting go of certain traditions. But she's always come to me if she's had a problem or issue with anything. I mean, she's always been closer with me than her mother. I just can't understand why she's not coming to me now unless she feels like she's in danger. I felt this heaviness of unanswered questions. My daughter's abrupt decision to for our financial assistance and opt for a clandestine ceremony at the Justice of the Peace left me reeling. Should I confront her? Or should I respect her wishes for privacy, trusting that she would confide in me when the time was right? It didn't feel right transferring the money, but in fear that she was in some serious trouble, I went ahead and sent the money. I guess the deal was however she pleases. She texted me and thanked me. My gut is telling me something is wrong. Update 2, I ended up calling her and at first she wouldn't tell me. She actually got mad that I knew about what was happening and I said this has nothing to do with her sister. She ended up telling me that her fiancé needed the money to start up his own business. I was taken aback by my daughter's revelation. Her sudden change in plans and the true reason for needing the money felt like a betrayal. I tried to understand her perspective, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of hurt and disappointment. The fact that she kept such important details from us made me question our relationship and communication. As a father, I had always been there to offer support, guidance, and assistance whenever my daughters needed it. To be left out of such significant moments in her life without any explanation stung deeply. I struggled with conflicting emotions of wanting to respect her privacy and feeling the need to address the lack of transparency and honesty. But I couldn't hold back. I asked her why she just didn't tell her mother and I the truth. If they were really in a bind, she should have said something. She said that her husband felt mediocre compared to me. She said that it was her fiancé who didn't want me walking her down the aisle originally. And then that turned into not having a big wedding because he couldn't afford it, but he was just too prideful to accept our money to pay for the large wedding. He felt that he could never give Beth the life that she deserved. Beth's mother and I worked hard to be able to give Beth every opportunity. We worked smart, we made investments, and it all happened to work out for us. We were well off because we worked for it. It didn't come easy. There was a time in our lives where we had nothing, but we tried not to let our daughters go without. I expressed my concerns about her secrecy, the abrupt change in wedding plans, and the financial assistance being used for a different purpose than initially stated. She started crying and she said she was sorry for lying to me. She said that he came up with this idea that if they didn't have the big wedding, they could still use the cash for starting up a car wash business. She said that he pressured her into still receiving the cash because he knew that I wouldn't be able to say no to my favorite daughter. I remained silent for a moment, trying to process the situation and collect my thoughts. Finally, I spoke up, my voice tinged with a mix of sternness and concern. I told her that I appreciated her honesty now, but I couldn't ignore the fact that she had allowed herself to be swayed by someone who was willing to deceive her own parents for personal gain. I reminded her of the values we had instilled in her since childhood: honesty, integrity, and respect. I expressed my disappointment in her fiancé for putting her in such a difficult position and manipulating her trust. I assured her that my love for her remained unwavering, but I also made it clear that I expected better from her in the future. She listened quietly, tears streaming down her face as she absorbed my words. After a moment of heavy silence, she finally spoke and apologized profusely for her actions and admitted that she had been blinded by love and the desire to please her fiancé. She confessed that she had allowed his insecurities and pride to cloud her judgment, leading to the deception and secrecy. I told her honestly that if the man she's decided to marry is turning her into someone she doesn't recognize, then maybe he's not the man for her. I urged her to think about what she was doing and what her future might look like if she went through with this. She said she needs to think about things. I told her if she needed to get away for a few days, she's more than welcome to come home. She said she'd let me know in the morning. Update 3, last update for you. It's been a few months now and Beth has moved back in with us. Despite the initial tension and heartache, having Beth back home felt like a balm for my worried soul. It was as if a heavy weight had been lifted from my chest, knowing that she was safe under our roof once again. Beth had reflected on the last few months, and as her father, I tried to offer her comfort and guidance without pushing too hard. I wanted her to know that she could count on me no matter what, that my love for her was unconditional. Eventually she decided to separate from her fiancé. I'm just thankful we don't have to deal with a divorce. The only thing is that when I transferred the money, she had transferred it into a shared savings account and her ex then proceeded to withdraw that money out of their shared account and we don't know what he's done with it. But he'll hear from my lawyer soon about that. Beth is doing much better and she's back to being that wonderfully intelligent and powerful young woman that I raised. She seems in much better spirits. We haven't heard too much from her ex. He seems to be avoiding the fact that he owes us money. She's also told us that he owes her a significant amount of money as well, so he's been quite silent. It seems like she's just happy to be rid of him and to start anew. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Married a manipulative gold digger who claimed to visit her dead mom's grave monthly. Turns out she was really sneaking off to cheat with her broke ex the whole time. When my wife and I met, I immediately thought she was the most beautiful person I've ever seen. She was lively and vivacious and she was completely captivating. I knew from the moment I laid eyes on her that I wanted her to be my wife. I asked her out and she said yes. We dated for a few weeks and I asked him to be my girlfriend. It was only a few months after that she moved into my house, and a few months after that we were married. It all happened very fast and a lot of people in my life warned me against it. I have an incredible job and I make 6 figures a year plus bonuses that I get every quarter. I'm not the wealthiest person on the planet, but a quick Google search will show my net worth. That made dating hard. It was always difficult to see who wanted me for me, and who wanted me for what I could do for them. When I started dating my wife, she didn't seem like she wanted anything for me. She always offered to split the bill when we went out. She got me little gifts every now and then when she could afford it. She never wanted me to buy her expensive things or take her out on fancy excursions. It seemed like she genuinely enjoyed my company. Of course, I wanted to treat her to those things. If there was ever any person that I thought deserved it, it was her. I knew that she worked hard to make the money that she had, and I wanted to take that burden away from her. When we got married, I told her to quit her job. I made more than enough to provide for both of us and I thought she could focus on creative pursuits that she was more inclined to do. She resisted at first, but eventually, she agreed that it would be good for her. I know now that her resistance and refusal of gifts were all a ploy. I was manipulated from the beginning of the relationship to think she was something that she wasn't. She wanted me for my money, but she played it differently than all the other girls. Every month, on the first Saturday, she would be completely unavailable to go on any dates or come visit me. It was like that from the start of our relationship. I asked her about what she did, and she told me that was the time she dedicated to visiting her mother. Her mother passed away when she was very young. She told me that she had gone to visit her grave every month since she was 8 years old to update her mother on her life. I thought it was sweet and I never questioned it. Who would lie about something like that? I worked a lot, so unfortunately I wasn't always home with her. I was usually gone by the time she woke up, and I came home around 7 or 8 p.m. usually. Whenever I was home, there was nothing suspicious happening. She was a very manipulative person, so she made sure she appeared to be the perfect, loving wife that I thought she was. She went to visit her mother one day and I went on with my day as if everything was normal. I got a call from her in the late afternoon, so I answered the phone. But it wasn't her on the other end. It was the hostess at a restaurant in Manhattan. Apparently, my wife left her phone behind and the woman was calling to try and get it back to her. She told me that her mother's grave was in Long Island, where she was from. She hadn't mentioned anything about going to Manhattan that day, so I was a little curious. The woman on the phone asked me if I was the person that was there with her. She was hoping I could tell her to go get the phone. I told her to keep it behind the counter and I would be going to get it. I had no idea who she was with. She heard a man's voice and assumed that I was the person dining with her at the restaurant. My wife hadn't mentioned anything about going to Manhattan, and especially not going to Manhattan to see a man. I ended up taking off work early and going to the restaurant that the phone was at. I picked it up and looked through it while I took a cab home. I knew her passcode, but I had never looked through her phone before. I felt like a major invasion of privacy, but given everything that I just learned, I felt like I needed to. I looked through it and I found a conversation with a number saved in her phone as Penny. From everything else I saw, I knew that the name was fake. There were a lot of explicit pictures being sent back and forth and it was definitely a man she was texting. There were messages that went back for years between them. Through the context of everything, it seemed like my wife had been dating this man and fallen in love with him. Unfortunately for her, he was broke. That's why she broke up with him. She wanted a certain lifestyle and he couldn't provide it for her. Regardless of how she felt about him, she needed to make sure she was provided for. Even though they broke up, they still saw each other once a month and slept together. It was like an agreement of sorts that they had. The man asked about me in the messages too. He asked her if I was pleasing her and if she thought about him while she was with me. She told him that she thought about him all the time, even when she was sleeping with me. My wife asked him about a woman that we'll call Lee. He told her that Lee was nothing compared to her. It was clear that they were both cheating on their partners. They had feelings for each other and because my wife ended the relationship, he tried to move on with someone else but couldn't. My wife lied to me and told me she was visiting the grave of her dead mother to cheat on me with this guy. It was honestly unbelievable. She wasn't at home when I arrived, so I tried to prepare myself for when she got back. I sent myself as many screenshots of their conversations as I could because I was going to need them to divorce her. She wanted my money, and I wasn't going to let her have any of it. When she got home, I could tell that she seemed exhausted. She looked disheveled and I could tell that she was just out cheating on me. It was just something you could see on her. She was surprised to see me home and I told her that I got a call from the woman at the restaurant and I showed her the phone. Her face fell immediately. I had no doubt she assumed I looked through it. I asked her who she was at the restaurant with, giving her a chance to at least tell the truth before I broke the news to her. She told me that it was an old friend that she used to model for when he was painting. She said that he wanted her to be in a portrait. She threw on a fake smile while she lied to me and tried to stick with what she was saying. I guess she thought I was just that clueless. I told her that I knew everything about the guy she was seeing. I told her that I knew about Lee, and how they were both having affairs. And I told her that I knew that she was only with me because of my money. She tried to tell me that none of that was true and that I was wrong about what I interpreted from the messages. There was no interpretation, it was written out in front of me and I read it for what it was. I gave her a week to get her things out of the house and I told her that we would be getting a divorce. When it came to the divorce, she thought that she was going to take me for half of everything I had. I remember sitting down with her and our divorce attorneys while she gave me a smug look. She thought she won. We signed a prenuptial agreement, yes. According to that, if we ended the marriage she would be entitled to assets. Unfortunately for her, she cheated on me, so the prenuptial agreement was voided. She didn't get a dime from me. She had no money and savings and no job. I kicked her out of the house and she was forced to go live with her father. I almost didn't want to tell Lee about their affair because I figured they would likely break up and they could give my wife somewhere to go. However, I decided it was the right thing to do. I found out who she was and I reached out to her and explained everything, showing her some of the screenshots that I had. She was completely shocked. She reached out to me a couple of weeks after I told her everything and thanked me. She hadn't even considered her boyfriend would cheat on her and they were getting to a very serious stage in the relationship. She was glad somebody showed her his true colors before she made that big step. I've been wary of people's intentions with me for a very long time. Unfortunately, I feel like I've been manipulated in this past relationship and I am somewhat closed off to them now. Honestly, I would have rather dated somebody who was upfront about their motives from the beginning rather than somebody who lied to me and made me believe they were someone else.